welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today I'm going to be revisiting a project that got an awful lot of interest when I made my original miniature version. Back when I was working on my witch's cottage, I was looking for things to fill the shelves, and one of the ideas I hit upon was of making a miniature hourglass. Now, I don't have a full-sized hourglass, just an egg timer, but today I'm going to be showing you how to make two variations on an hourglass. So let's get on with it. To make my hourglass, I'm going to be using these magic ingredients. Well, actually, there's nothing really magic about them. There's a bit of recycled food packaging, a scallop square hole punch, 5/8 of an inch size, and that gives me a nice size. I'll move that so you can see it a bit better, and it's just got a little bit more of a shape than my usual circles. I've got some beading wire, which is a 24 gauge beading wire, and I've got some beads. Now the beads I'm using are oval drop pearls. They're 6mm by 9mm, and they are in the colour that is described as sunrise. Well, what that actually means is it's sort of a iridescent, transparent, which you may be able to see better if I move the pot around. You can see they've got a little bit of shine to them. They've got a bit of an aurora borealis coating on them, but those are what I'm going to use to make this hourglass. Obviously, the most important part of the hourglass is the glass, and to do that I've stuck two of these little beads together. Now I've used UV resin because I've got it. When I made the original hourglass, I spent ages messing with different glues to find something that actually worked and stuck the beads together, and I had quite a game, and to be fair, I can't remember which of my many glues worked. So all I will say is this is something that will probably take a little bit of time and error, because some glues just won't stick your beads together, but in my case I've used the UV resin and it has worked perfectly this time, and I've got my little hourglass shape. To make the top and bottom of the hourglass, I have punched out some of the squares. Now I've done 6. That's 3 for the top and 3 for the bottom. Now I'm going to glue these together, and then I'm going to give them some paint. Now I've decided that I want to go for a silver look on this hourglass, so I'm going to be painting them with a base coat of dark grey and then a metallic silver over. They always recommend that if you want your metallics to look really wow and metal, to give them a base coat of a similar colour. I tend to use black because I generally go for an aged look, but in this case I'm not. I've got all the pieces here now ready to put my hourglass together. Now I've cut the wire a little bit longer than the actual glass because I'm going to have to trim it. Now I need it a little bit longer because what I've done is I have put little tiny holes in each corner of the top and bottom, and the wire will be seated into these, fingers crossed. So I'm going to get some resin out and I'm going to start sticking the pieces into place on what will become the base. Now I have attached everything to the one side, and I am going to attach the other side and finish it off now. As you can see, I'll just show you, I've got the makings of a hourglass, and here we have it, a finished hourglass, which, okay, it's a little bit twisted, but I quite like that look because it sort of fits with everything else in my house, so I'm quite happy with that. Now I just wanted to show you the original hourglass that I did, and so I've had to pull this piece out because everything is firmly stuck in place. Now this one I did with a round top and bottom, and then 2 little lengths of toothpick to fit down the side. It was all painted up to look like wood. It just shows you that you can make your hourglass any way you like. Now on to the more complicated hourglass. Now for this one, I'm again using recycled food packaging. Just a little, any kind of paperboard, card you happen to have lying around will do. The more important thing are these single-use eye drops. Now these are what I use for making miniature bottles, and I am building upon that in order to make a semi-working hourglass. The first step is to trim the eye drops. Obviously you're not going to need the lid, so that can be discarded, although I tend to keep them because they do make, if they're trimmed down, little sort of bowls that can be used to fill shelves and things like that. But we trim off the bottom and the little bits at the side, and that's what I've done with this one. Just trimmed it down so that you've got a sort of a basic bottle shape. Now you could, if you trimmed better around there, use that as a bottle. Won't stand up very well on its own, you would need to attach it to something, but it works. But for this purpose, the next step is to get your craft knife and to cut it down. Now I've done that with this one. Actually I cut this with scissors. I need to get the craft knife and actually trim it down below the line where there's a little ridge, because I don't want that, to about there, something like that, and then that will form the basis of half of my hourglass. Next we need to get the hot glue gun out. This is exactly the same process by which I turn these into bottles for my bottle video, so I'll link that there rather than showing you again. But basically you put a puddle of hot glue onto a non-stick surface and push that in, and then when it's set you peel it off and you trim off the glue. Now you need to make 2 of these, and I think I'm probably going to trim off the neck on this one to make it a bit easier and make it a little less lumpy around the middle, but that is the next step. To make the top and bottom for the hourglass, I'm using the same punch as before, this 5/8 of an inch scalloped square punch, but this time I'm only going to be using 2 for each piece. So I'm going to glue these together so that they disguise the fact that they are food packaging, and then I'm going to colour them, and I think I'm going to use a pro marker to do this rather than paint, just to get a different look. And I'm going to use this warm grey, which is actually quite a brown colour. Now I'm cutting here to the final piece. Basically what I did was I've stuck the 2 pieces together using the UV resin. This was a little bit fiddly, and to be fair it wasn't very camera worthy. My hands kept getting in the way of the shot, so I just gave up in the end of trying to get a decent shot of it, because it is also pretty much a one-shot deal. Now before I glued them together, actually before I put the glue on the second one, I used it as a funnel to put some micro beads into the little hourglass. Now these are sold for nail art, and I actually bought them from the pound shop for the bottles, but I decided that these little beads might be useful for miniature purposes and kept hold of them. And so what I've done is I've put some inside. Now they do actually run through, or they did. They were all in one, and as you can see some have run through, but for some reason it's clogged up, and obviously I can't get in and unclog it now. So at least I can make it look like the sands of time are running through my hourglass. I also stuck the top and the bottom pieces on and forgot to film it. That was a genuine forget to film it. I'd got some UV resin out, and I thought, oh, I'll just use that to stick those on, and didn't think to press record. But Anyway, here is my other more complicated hourglass. Now this is actually a bit bigger and would probably be more suited to 1/6 scale than 1/12, but this was more an experiment of can I do it than actually making something to go into one of my projects. Here we have my two finished hourglasses. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like, comment and subscribe. And until next time, bye.